Today, I talked to Brian Moncada, the man behind some of the biggest YouTube ads in the info business space, who spent over $40 million on ads over the course of his career as a marketer. The crazy part is that only 4 years ago, Brian was still a door-to-door salesman who was struggling to make ends meet. But then he decided that he needed to go find and work for a mentor, someone who had already built a successful business and who could teach him how to do the same. When he read the book Millionaire Success Habits, he knew that the author Dean Graziosi was the mentor he was looking for. So he cold emailed Dean, quit his job, and packed all of his belongings to drive from California to Phoenix, Arizona for an interview with Dean. He got the job on the spot, and the rest is history.
Brian, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you for having me.
All right, so as always, I want to dive straight in. Can you share the story how you landed the job with Dean Graziosi?
Yeah, so long story short, I was working as a door-to-door sales rep in Yorba Linda, California. And prior to that, I stumbled across Dean listening to Lewis Howes, the School of Greatness podcast. And he was interviewing Dean, and I really resonated with Dean's message at that time. I ended up ordering the book off a Facebook ad, Millionaire Success Habits. I read that book in full. The 7 levels deep exercise in that book changed my life. And then I went out to Yorba Linda from Arizona to do door-to-door sales. And about 4 months in or so, during that summer of doing sales, I just wasn't fulfilled, felt purposeless, didn't know where I was going with my life. And then I remember seeing that book on the counter, and I immediately ran over to that book and had the idea to email them and go work for Dean. And so I emailed, I used a plugin on Google Chrome called emailhunter.io, and I went to deangraziosi.com, scraped all the emails. Subject line was like, Dean, thank you for everything, or something like that. I don't know what it was. But then the copy was like, here's who I am, here's what I'm doing. I don't know if you're hiring or not, but I'm going to keep following up with you until I get an interview. The next day I got an reply back from Jeremy, who was his right hand and CEO at the time, saying, hey, crazy, you emailed us. We're looking for someone to help us with digital marketing. And so can you come in for an interview tomorrow? And so in that email, I did lie, I will admit, and said that I was already in Scottsdale because I knew if I said California, they probably wouldn't take me seriously. So I said, yeah, I can do that. And then I ended up quitting my job that night, packing my bags that night, and then driving out the next morning for the interview. And I got the job.
Damn, simple as.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. You saw the book and you're like, I want to work for Dean. What were you expecting at the time? Like, were you thinking of like, oh, like I'm trying to find a mentor?
Yeah. This is a great question, by the way. There's a lot of layers to this, but prior to doing that, I had already been in search of a mentor, and I was almost like, I was trying to crack that code. How can I find a mentor? Who's the mentor I can work underneath and learn from? Because prior to doing door-to-door sales, when I first heard of Dean on that School of Greatness podcast, I was doing cold call sales. And I was working for a startup company called ZenReach and just cold calling about 100 businesses a day, trying to sell them on the smart Wi-Fi technology. And I was already trying to learn from somebody, and I just didn't know who or how. And then when I was doing door-to-door sales in California, I just felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, which was building my own brand, my own business, online marketing, right? Because that's what I knew was the future. And that's what ultimately led me to seeing the book, like really one night when I was just like in my own head about things. And this was about 2 weeks of just like, screwing around and in my own negative self-talk and everything. And anyways, I saw that book on the counter by my laptop, and I had the idea. I was like, why don't I just go work for Dean? He has an online business. He's great at marketing. He sells personal development information and products. I bought his book. I love his book. He has the same business model that I kind of want to have. And then I was like, he's in Scottsdale, right? And I went to Arizona State University. I was already in Arizona before, but I was just in Yorba Linda at that time. So I was like, what's the worst that happens, right? Like, I go out for the interview, they say no. Okay, well, I'll figure it out from there. I knew I was going to get the job, though. I just had to go all in. So yeah, I think it was success. It was like that old quote where like, when preparation meets opportunity, because I was already prepared, and I obviously showed that by just going all in.
What was the business that you were thinking? Had you already started on that before going to work for Dean? Why not work on the business instead of going to work for Dean? I think it's really interesting because most of the people I end up interviewing on this podcast that gravitate to these behind the scenes careers have a very entrepreneurial tendency, right? And I think long term, like 5-10 years down the road after they land these positions, will or have ended up starting their companies. And so I'm curious, like, why not start the company before joining that position, right? Obviously, it's played out well for you, right? Like, I want to kind of dive into that way of thinking about it.
Yeah, so prior to working for Dean, I didn't really have a business already. So the brand I was trying to build and eventually start a business was like my personal brand. And at that time, I was really just on YouTube, posting fitness content about my personal fitness transformation journey, which we can talk about that too. But basically, I was just documenting my fitness journey on YouTube and posting vlogs. And so, I had really good social media skills. I knew social media in terms of YouTube and obviously how to do that just from my own trial and error and experience. And I built up a subscriber base of around 3,000 or 4,000 people subscribed to me personally just from scratch. Like no help from like friends or anything. I kept it a secret from all my friends and family because I didn't want them to hate on me, funny enough. But anyways, I used that to leverage the opportunity to work for Dean because I knew he wasn't doing anything on YouTube. He wasn't really doing much on social media. It was really just ads. But I didn't really have a business at that time. I was really just trying to make money. That's why I was doing door-to-door sales because I got good at cold call sales and I was making about $60,000. And I was like, I need a place I can have uncapped commission, create my own future, write my own paychecks. So I also read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Robert Kiyosaki, Work to Learn, Not to Earn, one of the most profound concepts that really impacted me. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go learn from him because he has the business that I want. He has marketing. He knows sales. I have the background of social media. I have the vision of what I want to do. But it would be kind of stupid for me to take a longer time to do it on my own as opposed to going to learn from somebody who already's done it. And yeah, I guess it's kind of worked out, right? I worked for him for 3 years and now I've built adspend.com to 7 figures and it's just getting started.
Hell yeah, man. So let's break down the, and again, not going to share the cold email in like specific, but like let's break down what that looked like. First of all, so interesting that you mentioned the tool Hunter, right? Hunter.io.
It's called Hunter now, right?
Yeah, it used to be Email Hunter, right? Now it's Hunter.io, which basically you enter the domain name, right? Or you can enter like someone's name and the domain name and basically figure out like all the email addresses of the important people working there, right? So that's probably something you got from sales, but like, yeah, like genius tip to kind of reach out for these kinds of positions, right? What was that email like? Can you break it down? And I'll include. I think you have a screenshot of like the first third of the email on Twitter.
I can share it if you want me to.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so the subject line was Dean, this might seem crazy, ... Yeah, so it's a really good subject line. And you can see here I had a lot of the emails already from an older domain of theirs. But yeah, hey Dean, I hope you're having nothing short of a fantastic day so far. My name is Brian Moncada. I'm 23 years old. I recently graduated from Arizona State University last May in 2016. The reason I am reaching out to you via email is to thank you. Thank you for everything that you have contributed to the world through your amazing content by sharing your story to help others like myself. I remember driving to my sales job this last January and listening to a new Lewis Howes School of Greatness podcast that you were featured on. You were discussing your new book, Millionaire Success Habits. I instantly made a connection to what you were saying and shortly after ordered the book through your sales funnel. The 7 levels deep exercise in your book is something that is truly life-changing, and was truly life-changing. The exercise helped me pinpoint exactly why I wanted to achieve the surface goals I had always envisioned. Since finishing the book, I have learned more about myself these last few months. And so, yeah, point being is that I opened with, compliment.
Personal story.
Yeah, personal story about myself. And then obviously giving credit to him about what he's done recently to make it relevant. Like, here's why I'm emailing you. I'm emailing you because I remember driving to my sales job and I was listening to the School of Greatness podcast, which you were on. I then ended up ordering your book. Your book helped change my life, which is all true. Like, this was all like from the heart. Like, I wrote this email in a matter of like maybe 30 minutes or less, probably even quicker than that. But yeah, it was compliment, personal story, adding value, and then
I'm guessing the last part of the email was pitch of like what you felt like you could offer.
Yeah, so after this part, right, I go into the reason why I'm emailing you is because here's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing door-to-door sales job. I know I can help you guys with digital, like with something. I don't know what it would be yet. And I linked my YouTube channel as well at the very bottom of the email signature. with my social media. So they could go to my Instagram, they can go to my Twitter, they can go to my YouTube channel. And I told them, I was like, I've been doing YouTube. I can help you guys with YouTube, with social media. I don't know if you're hiring or not, but I'm going to keep following up with you until I do, right? And then that's when, obviously, Jeremy emailed me back on the team and shared with me his phone number so I could text him and set up an interview. And then I got the interview.
Nice, man. Will you change anything about that email if you're advising someone to reach out today, or would you just keep it like similar?
I'd keep it because it worked.
Yeah.
I think it was also just the timing of it too, right? Like literally it was the perfect time to send that email. And yeah, maybe, the email experts out there who teach cold email would be like, oh dude, you jumped into your story too soon, or you should have done less copy. Like, fuck it, dude, it worked, bro. So like it is perfect timing. It worked and it converted. That's all I know.
Yeah. Came from the heart is what I feel like was genuine. The other thing I want to highlight, though, is that you mentioned before, like, I knew I would get the job, right? And you mentioned driving all the way to Arizona, right? You were in California at the time. I think there's something that people can learn about, like, from that, of just, like, the conviction. And I think it's something that a lot of these people that are looking to fill these behind-the-scenes positions, like really resonate with is it's just, like, that hunger, right? Of, like, hey, like, it's like I just want to learn. I'm willing to do anything to bring you value and to kind of like get you results.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just as simple as you said it. I knew that this was an opportunity that could change my life, and I treated it as such, right? So, for example, when I quit my job doing solar that day, like a lot of people that were working for the company that were also, we were all living together, right? So it was like a house of 12 dudes, just like myself, 2 or 3 bunked to a room, waking up every single day and going door knocking together. So like a lot of them didn't understand what I was doing. They were like, you're going to go out there for the interview. Who is this guy? They'd never heard of him. I'm like, you guys just don't understand, because I knew. So anyways, when I say I knew I was going to get the job, is because I had the commitment already in my soul. Like I knew if they meet me and they talk to me, I'm going to get the job. That's how confident I was in myself.
You literally treated it like you already had gotten the job, right? Like you moved to Arizona basically with your car, all your stuff in your car.
Yeah. I remember in the room when I was telling one of the guys I was going to leave, and he still talks to me to this day. It's funny, we laugh about it, but he was like, why don't you just like go for the interview and then drive back and get your stuff if you get it? Like because what happens if you don't get it? I'm like, no, dude, you don't get it, dude. Like you don't get it. And so, yeah, I mean, I packed up everything that I had, which I was living out of my car basically because I was living in Yorba Linda with just my personal belongings. So I packed up my clothes, all my kitchen stuff, everything that I was using to move into that house to do door-to-door sales, packed it up in my car, drove out the next morning for 6 hours to Arizona. And yeah, during the interview, I was like, look, I'm the guy for this. Like there was just no other option. And I told him, I was like, I'm here, I'm all in. My car's packed with my stuff. I drove out from California this morning for the interview. So like, let's do this. And yeah, they hired me.
They were hiring for a Facebook media buyer. Is that kind of what you started with? And what was your first week of onboarding like?
Yeah, so they hired me originally to learn Facebook ads. They already had someone running Facebook ads, Ryan O'Donnell at the time. Really good friend of mine. He taught me a lot. And basically, I started learning direct response marketing. I first learned copywriting. His first task that he gave to me, it's funny because I was 23 at the time of the email, right? And then I was learning from someone who was, I believe at that time, 17, maybe 16. And, this kid was a genius almost. Cause like to me, cause I was like, I don't know, anything about this, but anyways, he was teaching me sales letters, how to write copy. And I was studying sales letters for like a week. I was in charge of writing sales letters, for like the next month, just writing copy.
And this was was this just for practice, or was this stuff that was going out?
Practice. Yeah. Nothing going out. But after like the first few attempts myself, we started writing Facebook ad copy together. And then I started writing my own Facebook ads, and I would send them to him and he would launch them and we would launch them together. And then it got to a point very quickly where it didn't really take 2 people to manage the Facebook ads. So that's when the idea came up. Maybe it was Dean himself. He said, why don't you learn YouTube ads? And so I think someone told him about YouTube ads, or someone was doing well with YouTube ads. It might have been Brendan Bouchard at the time. And so that's when I started learning YouTube ads on my own. I looked at online how to run YouTube ads. There was nothing at that time. There was just like one course by Russell Brunson and Tom Breeze, who's a really good friend of mine to this day. And I've learned a lot from Tom. And it was like a $297 course. I used that to spend about $5,000, made about $2,500 back. So not a lot of money back, but then we paid for a coach to come out and teach me, which was Tommie Powers. And then Tommie Powers coached me for about 8 weeks, which really helped us. And that really taught me everything that I now use to this day. And we even teach our clients in our programs. So yeah, it was like, learn copy, write copy. And then simultaneously, I'm also learning sales funnels, right? Direct response marketing in general, because I didn't know anything about sales funnels, conversion rates, emails. I was kind of just doing it all on my own before, but I didn't know how it systematically worked, if that makes sense. Then YouTube ads became the opportunity for me to really stand out.
What I'm noticing is that they invested a lot into you, right? Like from the get-go. Were they paying you at the time, or was it like unpaid in the beginning?
They were paying me enough. I basically got paid enough to live.
To cover your expenses, got it. You were just training, right? Like there was like not like crazy output, but like you were like writing sales letters, they were training you, they're investing in you. Tommie Powers, I'm assuming they paid for him to come out and train you as well. Like they probably saw potential in you, like he can really bring us results, but like it starts with like them training you, right? And like investing a massive amount and just like believing in your potential for the business long term.
For sure, yeah. Looking back, like you just said right there, I look back and there was a lot of onboarding and investing. Yeah, like Tommie was not cheap, obviously. The courses that I bought weren't off my own money; it was the company's money as well. So, it was a lot of training and grooming, if you will. And I like I said, I owe a lot of my success to Dean. I'm thankful for everything that he's done for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. What did the team look like when you joined? I'm curious, like, what was the business like? Like, what was the focus? How many people were on the team? What was it like being in the office? All that stuff, just for context.
Yeah, when I joined, it was there was like 5 people on the marketing team, including me, right? So it was Dean, it was Jeremy, it was Tanner, who was Dean's nephew, who does all of the sales funnels, automations, and then like email stuff. And then it was Ryan, who was running Facebook ads. And then it was me, right? YouTube ads. So that was the marketing team. Now, he had customer service inside the same building as well. At that time, I think there was maybe 5, 6, 7 people, if that. And then there was the sales department, which was outsourced, not outsourced. It was basically in another state at that time. So, yeah, it was a very small in-house operation when I first came on. And then, over the time that I was there, it went to like almost a 100-person company pretty quickly. So, yeah, it was awesome to see the scale.
And what was the business?
Like the main business?
Yeah, what was the main business for Dean? I know I think he probably had a couple of different businesses, but like in that office, like what was the core, what was bringing in the money?
Well, what we were working on was the actual personal development info product side of the business. So selling more of the Millionaire Success Habits books, and those would be leading to, workshops, masterminds, events on the back end, which are how to, obviously make more money, which is at that time, I should say, it was real estate.
All right. And then so you kind of dive into this YouTube thing that's kind of like very new at the time. Like I'm assuming it took some time to kind of dial it in, right? Like you guys had never done it. You have this consultant come in. Like what did the beginning look like with YouTube ads? Was it like a smashing success from the get-go? Were there some like early failures?
Yeah, so like the first time I tried running YouTube ads, I spent $5,000 and made $2,500 back. So it wasn't a total failure, but it just wasn't profitable. And so that's when we ended up paying for speed for Tommie to come out and teach us how to scale. Spend $5,000, make $2,500 back. And that was, the free plus shipping book funnel that we were running at that time. And then Tommie came in, he spent a whole day consulting with me and told me his strategies that he would do, and then coached me over the next 8 weeks as well. Every single week we'd have a call. And in that time, we were able to go from spending $5,000 a month, I think I did in that first 1 or 2 weeks, to almost $5,000 a day pretty quickly, I owe a lot of that to the coaching and the consulting with Tommie. And then it just took time too, like to be able to have the confidence to be able to spend money. Because I was treating it like it was my money, obviously. This was a big opportunity. I didn't want to ruin it. And It was scary. And it's the same thing that I see when I teach people now when it comes to YouTube ads. Like, they're afraid to spend, and they have all the things that make sense to spend, but they don't spend. But it's more of a limiting belief internally. And I'm like, that's the same thing that I was dealing with. The one thing too that I would say is that I've learned the most is like running YouTube ads, just like any other ads platform, is very technical, but it's almost easy. It's easy when you have the great offer. It's easy when you have the great marketer behind it. It's easy when you have the great messaging. Like, the reality is like, I was able to add value to Dean because I was able to master a additional source of revenue for the business, additional paid traffic platform. But I was lucky because I had the unfair advantage of working with a master marketer. Like, he had 20 plus, 30 plus years of experience already doing this by himself on infomercials, right? He was great on camera. He could sell direct to camera. So anything that we would really test would crush because nobody was as good as Dean at that time, especially on YouTube. That's why Dean became very, very household name very quickly as well. Even, not that he already wasn't before, but, on YouTube, he was dominating because he was just so good. And then I was the guy pushing the buttons behind the scenes, also learning very quickly how to manage millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah. What do you guys learn from Tommie? Like, what did he teach you that made a difference?
He taught me the targeting timeline or something. Basically, it was some sort of timeline of targeting that you should use to be able to go from starting to scale. And it's the same thing that we use now. It's like, what's the best targeting to start with when you're proving the concept of the ad, the messaging, and the offer? And then what's the targeting you should use as you begin scaling and spending more money, right, to reach more audiences? And that was a huge one because he broke down, okay, you start with these first, and then you go these more, and then I was like, okay, that's one concept. Another concept was the focus of the creative, and he would always harp on me on this. He's like, look, you have to be able to like demand new ads from the team. If you can't demand new ads from the team, you're going to be the one that gets screwed, because until you have a consistent way to test new ads, you're always going to be you're always going to be relying on media buying to save the metrics. So basically the focus of the creative at that point, which is always YouTube's biggest bottleneck for most people, is they can't create enough ads or they don't test enough new creatives. And that's the same thing that we tell our clients. It's like, you have to be in constant production of new creatives in order to win this game. Because to scale from 0 to 1K a day on YouTube ads, you can do that with a good offer, a few ads, but to go from 1K to 5K to 10K a day, it's a whole different game. You got to be testing like a new ad every single week, bare minimum. I
would imagine a lot of the people that are like the face of the brand, right? Like, don't make the time to create the ads and to create that like variety to test. And that can become a huge bottleneck for scaling.
Yeah, it always is. But with Dean, it was amazing because we had a really good system where, I talk about this all the time, but basically it's like, again, the unfair advantage, like with Dean, we tested for Millionaire Success Habits alone, that book funnel offer, right? We tested over 123 like different YouTube ads. So it's like, when you come to me and you're a client who wants to work with us for YouTube ads and you don't want to get in the habit of filming new ads, like, we just won't work with you because we've worked with the best. I've ran ads for the best. And literally, he filmed 123 new ads for one offer in a matter of 2 to 3 years, right? So like, that's an average of like 2 ads a week or whatever, like maybe. So 1 to 2 ads a week we're testing. And so like, he's also had 20 plus years of experience doing it on infomercials, right? And he's like really, really master craft to 10,000 hours, like mastery level. And so these new clients that want to run YouTube ads that think it's going to be as easy as filming an ad and then it's going to crush, like, I really have to reframe their expectations because like they get humbled very quickly, and I say that like without like wanting to offend anybody, but it's just like, look, there's levels to this, right? There's levels to this. So you have to put in the hours and the reps, and that's what Dean did. And so like, one thing that would always work to always reduce the cost per lead, reduce the cost per call, and get more revenue was Dean filming a new ad. I would tell him this, and again, we would work back and forth because I started getting more creative myself as I started getting better at direct response marketing, copywriting, and media buying. I finally now was able to a point where I would tell Dean, hey Dean, I need you to film an ad with this topic as the hook because this keyword in the campaign's working really well. And so now he wouldn't even like, and he doesn't like scripts. He would just, what's the hook? Who is it for? and what are like the 1 or 2, 3 bullet points, and then I would give those to him. That's the way we work together. And so that's the way he best filmed an ad. And then he would just go, and I can show like 1 or 2. He would just go and film an ad on his iPhone, and it would just crush, man. And so, yeah. Anyways, I went off on tangent there.
No, not at all, dude. Let's, would love to see one of those creatives that you mentioned, just to give an idea to people. I just remember seeing them. I think it was like 2019, 2020, probably 2019, right? Just seeing a bunch of those ads pop up, both on Facebook and YouTube for the book funnel. So it's like kind of going down memory lane here. I remember seeing one where it was like he had the book on fire. I'm sure that one was like one of your top performers, but that was a good one.
Yeah, we had to turn that one off, unfortunately. But
oh, really?
It was doing really well. Okay, so I'm using this tool called VidTow to find them. It's a free tool. Anyone can use it.
Oh, nice.
You can obviously search anybody's ads by their name, or sometimes it's hard to find them, but this is the only tool that I know of that you can really just go find YouTube ads. You can sort by views, and you can see that this one has 7.4 million views. So anyone can use this tool. It's free. It's publicly available. But yeah, this one crushed. I mean, 7.4 million views. So I'll play it for you.
What's up? Just got done running the mountain up here in Idaho at 6,000 feet. I'm on this amazing stream.
I remember he got back from a vacation up in Utah, I believe, or a mastermind. It was a mastermind, and he sent us this ad, and we added, the editing team added these banners, and yeah, I mean, 7.4 million views is crazy. But
so just real quick, what's the story behind the ad of like, what was the context for this?
Basically, he just got done running the mountain. He was surrounded by incredible friends, and basically he's just inspired. Like this is when the best ads get created, by the way. Like, and we always tell our clients this, like, we can give you the scripts, we can tell you exactly how to film it, we can edit it, right? But ultimately, you need to get in the habit of when you feel inspired throughout the day, you need to flip on your camera and film an ad and sell, because this came out of just him wanting to film an ad. He saw the background, he just got the endorphins of working out, being around all these friends that he's very close with, and he's like, man, I just want to talk about this right now. And then boom, he flips on the camera, has somebody hold it for him, whoever it is behind the camera, and that's when the best converting ads pop up. So we always tell our clients, like, look, film it exactly how we tell you to, but then once you're done, you're probably going to have a flow state now to where you know the script, you know the flow, and then you don't want to say it as scripted now, and that's when the best ads come. So just go off the cuff. And yeah, this one was off the cuff. He's on the bridge, and he's showing B-roll of the mastermind. You can see Lewis Howes right there. And yeah, there's a really good edited ad, and yeah.
It almost seems like, yeah, it's like a habit. Basically, just like record them, like it's like an ad a day. Keeps the ad spend. I feel like there's an adage there. Yeah.
yeah. One ad a day keeps the ad spend at scale or something.
Keeps the ad spend away. Cool. So thanks for sharing that, man. Super cool to see some behind the scenes stuff. How much money were you guys spending at your peak with Dean? Like a day?
At one point, I think my biggest screenshot that I have, if I could dig it up, was probably like around 35,000 in one day, maybe even close to 40. It might have been more than 40. I'd have to look at my screenshots.
Cool. No, that's a good ballpark.
That was just for Millionaire Success Habits as well. So with that, plus the other offers, for me personally, it was probably around maybe more than 50.
Damn. What's the benefit of running ads to a book, right? Because like it doesn't seem like you'd make like a huge ROI on that. But like, why invest $30,000 plus a day to advertise a book?
Yeah, I think that it depends on the goal of the business. For example, right, the reason why someone like Dean would run a book funnel is because a book is a very easy to understand offer, right? It's a book. You get a hardcover of this book, and it's something you can get physically, right? And you can get it in the mail, and it's also the marketing behind it and the way it works is you're giving it away for free, right? Just cover shipping and handling. So they cover the cost of the book, you just cover shipping and handling, and then the consumer gets it in the mail. So there's the element of like having a physical thing that you're getting sent that you purchased. Plus a book is like, to anybody who's in personal development or an entrepreneur, like you value the quality of a good book, right? The information inside. So it's still valuable. It still has weight on it, right? But also ultimately, yeah, it's not like you're going to make it's not like a high ticket coaching program where you can make a 5x ROI on the front end. but it's an opportunity to get your book into the hands of thousands, if not millions of people at a cost that's, either break even or profitable, or worst case, a little bit negative on the front end. But you're okay with that because you know that X percentage of those customers will upgrade to your next offer, and then X percentage of those customers will upgrade to your coaching, and then X percentage of those customers will upgrade to your back-end mastermind, your high ticket. So it's a way to get in front of thousands of people, a way to get thousands of customers, hundreds of customers per day, and have a back end in place with more offers, more programs that you could sell to them to help them go further and faster. So the book really does work well, especially at mass scale, when you have a message and offer that can work for a wide variety of people. So there's a reason why like Tony Robbins does it as well. And, even Alex Hormozi with the $100 million offers, right? He's got a book that stands out, that's very valuable, and he's giving everything away for free in that book. And then it builds so much reciprocity that people now know who he is, they respect him more, and they want to work with him. And it sets up his back end, which is acquisition.com, really, really well. Because now it's like he teaches everybody this thing, they learn from him, they get results, and now they're like, I want to go farther, I want to go faster. And he's like, I have this other thing. So you want to do it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's a way to kind of build that initial relationship with someone that might just be like a follower or something like that, or not, or even like cold that might not even know about you, to build that relationship. So you've added so much value to them that they're like, oh, it's like what else can I get from you? Yeah.
Like for example, Millionaire Success Habits, right? That book is such a good lead magnet, but also product to get in front of all of like everyone in the world, because everybody wants to be a millionaire, right? Everybody wants to make more money, and they want to learn how to do it. And then Millionaire Success Habits. It's very easy to understand. The habits that made Dean a millionaire in his 20s. I can learn these habits, and these habits can help me become a millionaire, right? So now I'm learning this, like it worked. I mean, for me, I bought the book. I was reading the book. It taught me very valuable, habits that I still use to this day. And the 7 levels deep exercise, like I said, really did impact my life. To the average person, getting those, it might change their life, right? If they don't know this information, if they're not taught this information before. So yeah, it's a good way to get in front of a bunch of people, build reciprocity, get them into your funnel, right? As a customer, more than just like a lead magnet for free, because they're paying for this, they have their credit card on file, and then you can obviously, offer them more things to help them go further and faster.
Yeah, it's interesting that you wouldn't have ended up working for Dean most likely if it wasn't for that book funnel. All right, so I want to do something. I want to break down into a day in the life of managing $30,000, $40,000 a day ad spend on YouTube. I want to kind of break down, and I'll let you go, but like from top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel, what does your day look like optimizing this funnel, right? There's like different layers. There's the creative, there's the landing page, right? There's like the back end of the analytics and just like tracking all of that. So I want to get your bird's eye view of like what a day of like a $30K a day ad spend on YouTube a manager looks like.
Yeah. So when I was doing that much a day, I mean, I would wake up, pretty much go on my phone, open up Google Ads, and then I would look how much we spent, look at the results for the previous night, and I would see we spent this much, made this much in terms of cost per acquisition, screenshot that, send it to Dean, and he'd say, nice, dude. And then I'd, shower, go into the office and stuff. And then, yeah, when I'm at the office, I would analyze the data from the night before more holistically now because I'm at my computer. I would look at ClickFunnels. I would look at Google Analytics. I would look at Google Ads. I would see which campaigns were producing the most, analyze which ads were performing the best. And the thing is I'll be very clear here. When you're spending that much money, it's going to sound counterintuitive. You almost work less, right? I would maybe work 3 or 4 hours a day, literally, when I was working full-time for Dean doing that much money, because there's not much you really need to do, especially in the role that I was personally in. If you make decisions on a day-to-day basis, when you're spending that much money, you're going to ruin a lot of things more than you're going to enhance things.
Are you saying that things basically, when you're getting to spending that much money, it's because the funnel is already optimized and you've turned the money knob up and just like full throttle on that funnel? It's
almost less on ads that you need to worry about, like less about the targeting, less about the technical media buying aspects. It's more about how can we enhance what we're doing with all these people we're driving into the funnel. It's more on the back end. It's more on the sales team. It's more on, what happens after these people are clicking now. And what I would be focused on was how can we spend more? How can we make how can we make it more profitable? So yes, I will say that I was and I was focused on, new ads, new targeting, new strategies to enhance what we're doing. And that's what consumed the 3 to 4 hours of my time. Is there an opportunity to create a new ad? Okay, let me send it to Dean. Is there an opportunity to test a new audience that might work given the data inside the account? Okay, let's launch that campaign. Is there something I can work on with Tanner, who's running the funnel, to optimize and change and tweak to make the conversion rate even better? Okay, let me send that to him, right? But those are the variables that I can control. But when you're spending 30 or 40 or 50 grand, on one funnel in a day, right? It's like you're kind of just letting the algorithm do its thing because the offer's dialed in, the funnel's dialed in, and really you're just making sure you just have your what is it called? Like in bowling, you have the lane to make sure you're not going to go outside of the lanes and get a gutter. You have those things set up properly to make sure you're not going to go too much in the hole or, only, so far above, right? So, that was my day in the life. I would spend about 3 or 4 hours doing all those specific things I just mentioned. And then besides that, looking back, what I probably should have been working on as well was, okay, how can we maybe do another offer or do something else? But instead, what I was doing was also working on getting Dean on YouTube organic. I was learning how to do YouTube organic from guys like Evan Carmichael, right? Which was a whole thing that I saw was untapped as well. So besides really those things of the media buying, I was also trying to look for ways to add more value into the company.
You mentioned 123 ads, right? Like total for this funnel. What's like from...
It might have been more. It might have been like 128. I think it was around 120 something.
What's the iterative process like? Why so many? And how do you guide Dean on like, hey, I need a little, you mentioned before, like need to modify the hook a little bit is that about the targeting? What is it about? And kind of how do you end up with the kind of holy grail of ads?
Yeah. So when we first started, this is when I learned the bottleneck from Tommie. We had about three or so ads that were working, but the cost started rising and nothing that I did in the media buying, the targeting, the optimization of the campaigns was working. And I was panicking and I was talking to Tommie and he's like, dude, you need more ads. And he's like, you're running the same ads for the last month, man. And you can't people are seeing it. Like, you just need more ads. And I'm like, okay. So then we got more ads. And what do those more ads look like? They look like Dean, basically doing what you just saw, just off the cuff and holding the book up, saying, get the book. It's going to do this, this, and this, and go get it. And then boom, because Dean's so great, right? The book is really a no-brainer offer. It would lower everything. And so then we just got into a point where as I started getting more confident and more comfortable managing the ads, and I got more experience of what was working, and I saw that specific targeting options were working really well, I would then bring up those ideas to him and say, for example, right, this keyword of law of attraction is working really well. Let's make an ad where you say the law of attraction in the first 5 seconds so we can get people hooked. And then I'll show that ad to the keyword of law of attraction inside the campaign. So now we have an ad that matches the keyword, which will improve performance and make it very relevant. And so that's when Dean would film the ad with law of attraction and he would say, like, the law of attraction, does it really work? Right? Really interesting question. People that have thought about it or heard about it are like, I don't know, does it work? People that know it works, they're going to listen to it too because they're going to be like, what is this guy going to say? Does it not work? Right? And so then that's how we started filming more ads. And really, the blessing about working with Dean is he was just so used to this game already, right? Where he knew that ads had a certain shelf life and they would only run and last for a certain amount of time. Because just like an infomercial, right? He would always tell us when he would get an infomercial to work, he knew he had 2 to 3 years before he had to do something else, another one, another book, another whatever, right? And so it's the same thing with ads. It's just shortened now, a lot more. But the offer would last for 2 to 3 years, but the ads would be, maybe like 2 to 3 months.
So basically what the ad basically reaches the whole potential of the market of that specific keyword, for example, and then like basically everyone that's in that targeting has seen the ad, and then at that point you need a new creative to is that kind of like talking like this is coming from someone that doesn't understand ads at all, right? So and I think a lot of the audience probably doesn't, so just want to break it down in like layman.
For sure.
Yeah,
100%. So basically, let's compare two types of clients, right? Client A has 5 YouTube ads, right? And they only have been running those 5 YouTube ads for 6 months, versus client B, who has 50 YouTube ads. And you're spending more money, by the way. Let's say both of them are spending $5K a day. Who's going to have better performance? Someone might argue if this guy's 5 ads are so good, they can have really good performance. But the reality is, the more you spend on ads, the more your ads are going to be seen by more and more people more frequently. So if those ads, those 5 ads didn't get them to be sold or didn't get them to click or didn't resonate with them, the engagement's going to go down. The algorithm's not going to favor those. Your performance is going to drop. Your costs are going to rise. The expenses are going to be too much. Whereas if you have 50 ads and you have more ads being shown to more and more people, there's a variety now, right? You're testing more angles, testing more hooks, and the more you're spending, it's okay, and your costs will more likely go down because you have more cooks in the kitchen. You have more, rods in the fire. You now have a way to avoid ad fatigue, is what it's called, right? Ads fatiguing. So the reason why I always emphasize the 123 ads that we did over 2 years, which did about 2 million on the front end for Dean just on that book funnel, not including back end, right? Is because that's what allowed us to get that scale, was Dean being in the habit of filming new ads as opposed to not. That's what allowed us to really hit those 30K, 40K a days, because we would always be testing new ads. I remember when we were at that point, we didn't have just one ad that was working to get that point. We had like 3 or 4 ads that were combined getting us to that point. And it was just like boom, 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 boom. We had like 4 just rock solid ads combined. And that's what allowed us to get to that point. It wasn't just 1 or 2. It was like the 1, the 2, then the 3, and then the 4 over the last 3 or 4 months that hit. And that's what allowed us to get to that scale. But we wouldn't have got there if we were just testing the first 3 that ultimately, kept rising. And Tommie's like, you need more ads.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for breaking it down. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Mastermind.com. It was a huge launch. I think you were involved with it, right? Can you kind of share some background on that and how you ended up getting involved, and how just general story around that?
Yeah, so that was about 1.5 years into, I believe, me working for Dean. I remember Dean came to us at the time and he got everybody in the conference room and he basically laid out on the whiteboard the idea for mastermind.com and how it was going to be this teaching people how to do, masterminds, workshops, group events, things like that, what it is to be today. And it was funny. It was awesome just seeing that idea come to what it was. So eventually what ended up happening was that ended up, leading to the partnership with Tony Robbins, where Dean ended up working with Tony on this. They partnered together, and then eventually they ended up working with Russell as well, and Russell became a minority partner in that as well. And that's how they got the domain mastermind.com, through the help of Russell. And so my involvement of that was I ran all the YouTube ads internally for the company to get more leads to the webinar the first year, the second year. And so it was a crazy time because that's when we were still in the old office and we were growing as a company, and we were preparing for this live launch. And so at that time, it was me running YouTube ads for the Millionaire Success Habits book funnel, running YouTube ads for the real estate offers that we had, and a few other funnels that we were running. So I was running about 4 or 5 offers at that time besides mastermind.com, right? And then we were gearing up for this launch. And so gearing up for the launch was hectic, as you can imagine, and it was going to be live, and there was a lot of technical aspects of it that we weren't sure of, from like how many people can you have on live without the servers breaking? How do we make sure nothing goes down? How do we make sure the links are working? All this stuff. So yeah, it was amazing because during the day of the live, it was like the Super Bowl for us. It was literally the Super Bowl of internet marketing is how I could describe it. Like everybody was
I remember, yeah. It ended up being like the biggest launch ever, no? Wasn't it like the biggest
launch in internet marketing history? Yeah, 100%. And so I remember we were all in one of Ryan's house, actually, watching it live. I was refreshing analytics as they were making the offer. And it was crazy seeing, basically almost like 12 million made in one night, like just first day. And it was like, I've never seen this before. And yeah, it was a team effort, obviously. I mean, Tony and Dean crushed it, and Russell and everybody that was involved in the affiliates. And it was a huge, huge thing. And it was awesome to see how you could execute that kind of launch with the influence that they had. And it ultimately ended up doing, 30 million plus, I believe, at the end of it. And so, yeah, that changed a lot of things, because then we ended up moving into a new office. Dean bought a new office. We hired more people. And then that really established the mastermind.com brand for what it is today.
Yeah, that's a crazy story, man. Eventually you decide to leave the company and start working on your own thing. Was that a hard decision, and how did you know it was the right time to transition?
Yeah, definitely hard. Because I really did love working for Dean, and I really did love Dean, honestly, as well. Like, I didn't want to upset him or hurt him, but ultimately it just came down to the simple fact that I always had the vision for my purpose in life, and I knew where I was going. And at that time, there really just wasn't a way to make that work with what I was doing and had been doing up until that point. At that time, I was doing everything that I was still responsible for, making good money, really great money, like life-changing money for most people. And that was always my dream. All thanks to Dean. And he, like I said, he gave me all that opportunity. But internally, I didn't feel inspired. Internally, I didn't feel like I was on purpose anymore. And I ultimately felt like I was lost and confused again, kind of like in door-to-door sales. And so that same feeling was eating me up every single day. And the more I kept going into the office, not because of anybody else, it was more just me. And I just knew I wasn't growing or living to my full potential. And I knew I was destined for a bigger purpose. And so ultimately, I just couldn't fight that feeling off anymore. And I just had to confront it. And I just let Dean know privately that, I was going to be leaving. And, obviously I wanted to make sure that he was set up properly. So over the next 3 months or so, I was training my protege underneath me, who is still running his YouTube ads to this day. And his name's Jared. And so I trained up Jared underneath me. Jared learned everything from me, and Jared still works for him to this day, and runs all of the YouTube ads and Google ads for them. And so when I left, he was set up, and then I departed.
During those, you worked there for 3 years, right?
Almost 3 years, yeah. So basically, I quit 2020, February 18th or something, like a few weeks before COVID.
Got it. And what during that time, what are the biggest lessons you learned from being around Dean? So you read that book, you decided you wanted to go work for Dean. You were seeking for a mentor, right? And you want to learn business from someone that had run a similar playbook that you were interested in. Overall, over that whole experience, what are the biggest nuggets that you took away from that?
The first one's pay for speed. Being able to invest in yourself is always the better option than not. If you have the option to pay and invest some money into learning from somebody who's done it already, you definitely should do that, especially if you want to go farther and faster and avoid all the trial and error, the wasted potential thousands of dollars that you could waste in time and energy and money more than anything, especially with something like ads, because that's everything that I've learned and been a product of through his company as well. And that's what he always taught us, right? And we would always buy coaching programs, always buy courses, always buy masterminds, always buy things that could help us get ahead. The thing I loved about Dean too was he would always tell us that he just would always take bigger risks than most people in this industry. And it's true. Doing mastermind.com in the launch format that we did was a huge, huge risk in a way. His reputation, everything was on the line, but when it hits, it hits. And being able to see the fruit of that was always worth it. But nobody was thinking as big as Dean, in my opinion, at that time. And still, because what he's doing is always different and bigger. And he's always able to take more risks than most people. Besides that, there's probably a lot, man. But that's a good question. I have to think about it a little bit more.
A lot of the lessons are learned by kind of being around, right? You kind of integrated without even they're integrated. It's not something that's just you can transfer just by through a sentence, right? It's just being around them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've learned I was with him almost every day for about, 2 years, right? And then it got to a point where the company was so big, right? His time was his most valuable asset. So we didn't have as much time together during the last year or so, but during that first 2 years, man, that's invaluable experience that I'll never forget. And it was just being able to talk to someone who's done what he's done every single day and text him and be able to hang out with him and just the way he thinks. And it's you never almost reach a point where you're never thinking about business. It's always constantly just kind of a thing that you're working on, which is cool because I thought that was something that you had to kind of cure. But it's no, the best people in this space who are doing the biggest things are always thinking about, in a way, their business. But that's also what makes them different. That's also what makes them the best. That's also what makes them great. And so even when we'd be hanging out about, working out or whatever, we'd always be talking about different personal development things or, ideas for this or for that. And that's what we loved though. So when you loved it, it's why wouldn't you talk about it? The other thing too, I will say, is the personal development never stops. Yeah, that's the same thing I was just talking about. But specifically, I remember us working out in his gym at his place New Year's Eve before I ended up leaving, that he was geeking out on this not a new Jim Rohn book, but a Jim Rohn book that he was listening to at the time that he hadn't listened to in a long time. And I'm a huge Jim Rohn product myself, and we were just laughing at how Jim Rohn talks and how awesome he is at personal development. And we were just joking because he was it's all about personal development, man. It never stops. It always comes back to personal development. Success is just correlated to personal development. And so the bottom line being is that you always have to be working on yourself with books, with audiobooks. He would constantly be reading audio or listening to audiobooks on Audible, constantly reading, consuming information when he's working out, and he would always send us voice messages in the morning at random hours of the night. And it's funny because I see now myself doing that to my team now, sending voice messages. I can't sleep, so I'm just sending these things and telling them all these ideas. And yeah, I see it in myself now.
That's cool. Yeah. So there is some integrated learning from just probably as a leader, as an entrepreneur, that now you're applying in your own business, right? That you probably don't even realize. That's very cool. So you're kind of in your transitional period with Dean. What was your plan at the time? Did you know you wanted to start an agency? What was the master plan?
Yeah, so at that time, before I transitioned out, I already had people offering me to run their ads and then pay me. And so I already had some income on the side from that. And again, it wasn't taking too much of my time. So I would maybe work on that an hour or two a day, if that. And I would be, it got to a point though where I was making the same amount of income as I was making full time.
Were you salaried? Just real quick, were you salaried with Dean, or was there was there a percent commission based off of performance?
I was salaried.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was getting paid a good amount, and
Dean was cool with you side hustling on the side and stuff.
That was something that I never really brought up, to be truthfully honest, just because
nights and weekends.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really a distraction for me because everything I was doing internally was already taken care of. Mm-hmm. And so on the side, because I was, around people that knew of what I was doing, they would want me to help them with their stuff. And so I'd be okay. And then at that time, I didn't know, obviously, everything I know now, but I was making some money on the side. And then it got to a point where I had to make the decision again because, again, I was just at a point where I was at a crossroads in my life and I was making the same amount of money on the side as I was full-time and, really good money for a 24, 25-year-old at that time. And so I just was okay, I have to be at the office for this amount of time. Otherwise people will feel like I'm not there or whatever. And I'm only working this amount of hours on this, but I'm making the same. So I had, does this make sense? And so that's when I was look, I'm going to go do this full time now, the same thing that I've obviously been doing just for myself. And then that's when I went all in on adspend.com.
It seems like you were a very high paid freelancer when you left, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the shift from being a high paid freelancer to starting a full blown agency, hiring people? What's that transition like for you?
Yeah, so I was doing about $30K a month by myself with a few clients, about six or so clients. And I was having a really good lifestyle, working the same amount that I was working previously, but making more. And it got to a point where, again, I was doing well for myself, taking all of that income to the face and saving a lot of money. But I was also distracted by things that weren't really like, I was also having fun, man. I was traveling, dating, enjoying the fruits of the labor. But in the back of my mind, I always knew, like, I wouldn't say I always knew. I would always question, like, how long is this going to last? Like, is this going to last forever? Like, how long can you go making this much money by yourself without growing, really putting yourself out there, really taking this seriously? Because I was really just relying on word of mouth and referrals at that time. Yeah, I had a really good network, and people just knew of me. But I was like, how long can this last? And so anyways, yeah, I just had to ask myself that question. And that's when I said, you know what, I want to take this more seriously. I want to grow a company. And so that's when I transitioned from, calling myself YouTube Ad Pros, which was my domain at the time and my like moniker that I was thinking about going with, because I didn't have any name. It was just me, my face. It was Brian. But then I was like, how can I turn this into, because I've always had that vision too. And so I was like, how can I make this legit? And so that's when I bought the domain adspend.com. And then that's when I started hiring a team underneath me. And then I hired Nick, who was full-time. And then I hired, all my other friends that I had at the time to help come work with me. And a lot of them I already knew previously. Some of them, obviously, most of them I would say at that time, were good friends of mine that had skills. But yeah, basically it was just like the decision of like, how long is this going to last? And having the foresight to see that I can't go that far with just myself. I need to have a team.
It also seemed like you were kind of, it was the next step in your growth, like development, right? Your personal development.
Yeah, from like, the rich dad, poor dad cash flow quadrant. For anybody who doesn't know it, it's like, employee, and then you move to solopreneur, and then you move to business owner, and then you move to investor, right? So right now I'm business owner, and then obviously I want to move to being investor, right? So that's the transition I'm now taking for this next step. But yeah, I went from solopreneur to business owner.
So are you thinking of kind of putting like an operator in your business so that you don't have to run it anymore?
I already kind of have that. Like Nick on my team, he's been, like I said, he's been with me since day one. He knows the business just as well as I do. He's the first person that I truly hired and trained, and he was with me kind of like I was with Dean. He runs a lot of the fulfillment for our clients. He knows the business so well. I'm good at what I'm good at, which is public speaking, marketing, selling, and the operations and fulfillment. I can do it, but I'm not necessarily the best at it, or I don't really necessarily want to focus on that, right? What I want to focus on is what I like, which is creating content, helping clients, and creating relationships and networking. So we kind of already have that set up. We know our special talents and unique capabilities, and so like this is why I like to do this stuff, because I specifically love doing this, and this is what I like. This is what I know is going to grow adspend.com faster than me doing the other stuff.
Yeah, very true. That's smart. For AdSpend, what's your offer like? What do you do for your clients exactly?
Yeah, great question. That's a question I got a lot. So we actually recently updated our website, adspend.com, to be very specific about what we do. But long story short, we have two offers right now. We have a done for you and a done with you offer. Our done for you is basically an agency. However, it's more of a marketing partner now. So what we do for clients is we partner with clients who have a high ticket coaching or course business that want to scale, right, with YouTube ads. And so they apply to work with us, and we take a look at their business. And if we feel like we can help them, we'll come on as their marketing partner and handle all of their YouTube, Google, and even their Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram ads if it makes sense. But typically we start with YouTube ads because it's our specialty. And so for that offer, we charge a monthly based service fee plus percentage of the upside, percentage of net profit. And so we have guarantees with both of those, which makes it very lucrative for us. So if we don't hit a certain milestone in terms of revenue, we give them back our performance-based fee. If we don't make them a certain amount of profit, we don't take a percentage of the net profit. So we have to hit certain milestones. And that makes it very lucrative for the business owners, because everybody that what I love doing the most is working with a hand select few clients that I truly believe in, that I actually can get behind their mission, and I come in and scale their business, just like I did with Dean, just like I did with, all the other clients like Bedros and Frank, Frank Kern, John Asseroff, all these guys that are on our website and on our client roster. they trusted us to help them with that. And that's what I like to do. Now, however, we're just, making it a no-brainer offer for them. So that's the done for you side of the business. And then on the other side, which we just launched at the end of last year, was our coaching program, our YouTube ads coaching program for coaches, course creators, and agency owners. Because a lot of people come to us and they're obviously not a good fit for our done for you. They're not making enough money, and they're just not ready for an agency like us to come in. But they still want to learn how to do it and get more clients, get more leads, get more calls. And so we packaged up our proven system and we put it into a 8-week program plus a weekly coaching cadence and a community inside school.com. And they get access for a year, and we, essentially coach them for a year, right? And we help them implement our proven system, get the results, ask any questions they have and answer those questions for them, and be a part of a community that also can grow with them in their business. And we give them a year because that's the amount of time it needs to really, grow a business, in fact, in my opinion. So that's the two things we're working on right now. And eventually it won't just be YouTube ads, right? Adspend.com is bigger than just YouTube ads. Eventually it'll be more like Digital Marketer. I'm sure you're familiar with Digital Marketer. They're an education and certification company, right? Where they educate with any sort of digital marketing, how to become a digital marketer, how to start a marketing growth, whatever, right? And we're going to do the same thing, but with advertising. How to run Facebook ads, how to build your own advertising agency, how to run TikTok ads, how to run YouTube ads, right? All these things that we're doing for our clients that we're learning and I've learned, we're going to package those up and sell those as education products and then certify people so that way they can say they're certified by adspend.com, and they're going to be able to go into businesses and use that as credibility to land more gigs.
Very smart, very smart. So if anyone's interested in either offer, adspend.com.
Easy.
Okay, so for the last part of the interview, I just want to, a lot of people listening are entrepreneurs. They're kind of listening to these interviews because they're curious to see how these big figure entrepreneurs like run their business behind the scenes and learning from their right hand, right? So I want to dive more into the little more tactical YouTube stuff, more beginner stuff, but like beginner, like 101, but still more tactical. So first off, what kind of business do you think YouTube ads is a good fit for or makes sense for? What kind of product, like what kind of price point?
Yeah. So, we specialize in the high ticket coaching and course space, info products, digital products. That's just because that's what I personally believe in the most. However, YouTube ads can work for any sort of physical products, like the e-commerce, physical products, like for example, one of the biggest advertisers on YouTube for the longest time was Purple Mattress, right? And they sell a high ticket product, which is a mattress, right? The only times YouTube ads wouldn't necessarily make the most sense, especially if you're a beginner, right? Especially if you're just starting off, is like a physical product that's priced low ticket, anything like $97 or less. The margins are just so small, and it's just so YouTube ads is a little bit more expensive than Facebook. You really have to make sure that you have your lifetime value of a customer dialed in order to make those margins work. That's why higher ticket offers like 3K, 4K, or 5K in the digital program space, the information marketing industry like we're talking about here, work really well because you can afford to spend $100, $200 per sales call, and then you have 10 calls booked for, let's say, $2,000, right? You close 2 out of 10 clients on a 3K package. You spent $2,000, you made $3,000 back. Those margins make a lot of sense, right? It's easier to understand that math. So YouTube ads can really work for even local businesses. A lot of people are, one of my friends, Avery Lynch, who's a co-founder and a partner inside the company Prospect Bacon. They have a business teaching other people how to run YouTube ads for local lead gen for solar companies. So solar companies use YouTube ads to book, solar appointments in their local areas where they're door knocking, right? But they don't have to door knock because they just do local lead gen via YouTube ads now. So solar services, local businesses, but you just have to make sure you have an offer that's high ticket enough for those businesses to make it make sense.
It still feels like $1,000 plus is kind of sweet spot, right? Like you mentioned like Purple Mattress, solar, like those are all like relatively high ticket products.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like one of our clients, again, it's digital programs though, but one of our clients, the Tap Brothers, they have about 1.2 million subscribers on YouTube. We were able to be profitable on the front end on a $37 info product. So we were spending about $15 to get a $37 buyer, right? Which is pretty good. Yeah. So that's almost 2x sometimes it would be 25 or 30 bucks. So we would be closer to break even, but we're getting them customers for a profit on a low ticket info product. However, they were willing to do that as well because, again, they have other offers on the back end. They have supplements that they can sell people. And so it's not to say that you can't make a lower ticket product work. It's just got to be a no-brainer offer, man. It's just got to be an offer that's just so dialed in with a message that hits. And those are hard to do, which is why for beginners, higher ticket usually makes more sense when you're just starting off because the margins.
Got it. So let's say that someone listening is really intrigued about YouTube ads, but they're not really sure how to start. What would be your kind of 101 guide of like getting started, running some experiments to see like, oh, can YouTube ads like really make sense to drive more business?
Yeah, so it depends, right? So if you're not running any paid advertising right now, then I would say you would have to, number one, make sure that you follow a proven blueprint, right? You have to get some help on this. And, there's a lot of free information on YouTube, obviously. You can definitely learn from those now compared to what I learned from on YouTube before because there was nothing. But yeah, you just got to make sure that you have a funnel that's going to get someone from, interested to conversion, which is either a call or a purchase, right? Like that's the main thing. You can't run a typical sales. You can't run, just right to an order page and things like that in most cases. So if you're already running Facebook ads or something like that already, you have an unfair advantage because now you can just start remarketing to your already existing audiences with YouTube ads. And it's very easy to set up. Like this isn't complicated stuff here. You can have ads filmed and running in a matter of 24 hours if you really wanted to take it seriously. You don't have to film any crazy ads either. Most of the best ads that Dean filmed were on his iPhone, like this, just horizontal, right? Like not even any external microphone, just selfie style horizontally on his iPhone. And most of our clients' ads are filmed that same way as well. You can film a few ads on your iPhone following a script template. We have one that we can give you as well. And then, set up a few campaigns and start testing. I would say at least test $1,000 and see if it's lucrative though, and then analyze from there. I
think we had put together a YouTube ad together just so we can break it down. Would love to break down what's the structure of a perfect YouTube ad, or there's no such thing as perfect, right? But what's the ideal structure that you're trying to nail down for a YouTube ad?
Yep, learn this structure from Dean Graziosi, of course. Hook, story, close. Hook, story, close. Those are the three pieces to any sort of marketing message and any sort of copy that you're writing. What's the hook? What's the story? And then what's the close, right? Basically, it's hook, story, close, right? So I'll play an ad right here and show you an example of this. So this is actually a case study that is for one of our clients, Justin Thomas. He's the founder of Insurance Advertising Masters. And before working with us, he was the typical person that I was describing earlier. He had one YouTube ad that he tested, and this YouTube ad worked and was converting for over a year. But the problem was his cost per call started rising to $300. His cost per lead started rising to $26, and he couldn't figure out why. And he just didn't have time to film the ads as well as run the ad campaigns himself anymore. And so I'll play the ad that we produced. Well, actually, I'll play the ad that he produced. But this is a very simple ad. So he's in a studio in his office, just filming direct to camera with a good quality microphone. But there's no editing here. It's just him talking. There's not even captions. There's nothing. But it's about three minutes, right? Now, compare that to the ad that we produced. And I'll show you some metrics. This ad that we produced for him when we first came on, we scripted it, coached him on how to film it, we edited it, and this dropped his cost per lead in more than half, from $26 to $11, from $300 cost per calls to $200 cost per calls. And his ROAS at the time before was almost a 1, so barely break even, to now having a 3x return on ad spend. Now, there's already a few elements that we can see that are working really well. There's captions here. And there's an element at the very beginning which gets your attention. Zoom in. What if there's a way for you to get more insurance prospects and appointments without cold calling, door knocking?
You got the visual there.
And, exactly. All the frustrations that most of these insurance agents have when they're trying to get more insurance prospects. So the hook is, what if there was a way you could do what you want without having to do the things you don't want to do? Does that make sense?
Yep. And
we're showing the visuals.
It's very similar to YouTube, right? Which is kind of more my domain. But like the hook in an ad for creative is very similar to just like hook for a YouTube video. It seems like, right?
Same exact thing. So for example, I'm getting YouTube coaching right now from one of my friends, Clark Kegley, who has 1.2 million subscribers. And the way he approaches YouTube is the exact same way as YouTube ads. And I've learned that because I'm going through his coaching right now. And it's, he has a hook, right? And then 3 bullet points. Like that's the story, if you will. And then the CTA, it's the same thing, hook, story, close. Mm-hmm. So in the story, you usually have 3 bullet points as well. So definitely good awareness there on your part, for sure. It's the same thing. So that's the hook. And then it goes into the story, which is, I'm Justin Thomas. I'm the founder of Insurance Advertising Masters. I wanted to help insurance advertising agencies, blah, 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 blah. So again, now it's the story piece of it. I
like how you guys demonstrate on screen, right? You got some B-roll going on.
That's the other thing too, is comparing the other ad that we were showing compared to what we've done. The 5 key elements that we've known to add to all clients' ads that do improve the conversion rate. And again, I learned this through my $40 million plus of managing ads, is like captions for sure, B-roll for sure, motion graphics for sure, background music for sure, and then an end screen. What is an end screen? Well, an end screen is something like this, right? Another call to action.
It's like a visual call to action on the screen.
Yep, the last few seconds of the ad. So it's like all these elements are working together. And again, you can see that the proof's in the pudding. This one's at 202. This one's at 212,000 views, and this one's at 36,000 views. And this one was running for a year. This one's been running since April 18th of this year. And again, it's very, very specific market, insurance agents. So, yeah.
Very cool. Thanks for that breakdown. So for someone getting started off, start with your phone, follow this kind of structure, hook story offer, right? Hook story close, and probably put together a couple versions, right? I would assume.
Yeah, at least 5. What you can do honestly is I can, if you go to adspend.com/free-download, I'll put it in the chat here. It's literally our script template that you can get for free, and it has everything. You answer a few questions about your avatar, you answer a few questions about your offer, and it literally, you just copy and paste your answers into the script, and it basically writes it for you. And by the end of it, you'll have your first 5 ads written, ready to film.
Hell yeah. Hopefully a bunch of ads come out of this interview.
Everybody I talked to that uses it said it's the best thing that they've ever used. So they should.
Nice, man. I want to hear about what trends you're seeing right now in the YouTube space, in the YouTube ads space, and where you think YouTube ads are going next couple of years.
Trends right now in the YouTube ad space. Well, the biggest one that we're trying to crack right now is YouTube ads shorts, because TikTok ads is quickly becoming the biggest competitor of YouTube. Mm-hmm. YouTube's not going down without a fight. They just introduced YouTube Shorts, obviously, very recently, and they also just introduced YouTube Ads Shorts. So now you can run ads on the Shorts platform on YouTube to compete with TikTok, and that's something that's going to be huge, because now Shorts are obviously less than 60 seconds, and so we're working on that sort of formula for our clients right now. And we're seeing some success. It's still early on, though. When we first started testing them, it was only available for Android users. Android typically isn't the best quality, unfortunately. They just started rolling it out to a specific subset of iPhone users. So now we're seeing better results, better cost per leads.
And those are 60-second ads, where you're basically scrolling and an ad will come up and it'll just like be the format of a YouTube short.
Exactly. Yeah, you're just scrolling. It's a YouTube short, but it's an ad. Same thing. So yeah, that's what's a big trend right now that we're trying to crack. And I think those will just become more and more popular. 3 minutes or less right now with YouTube ads. Gone are the days when you can do 20-minute, 40-minute plus ads. Like 3 minutes or less is what works the best. I've seen ads even in the 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds do really well. Again, it depends on the offer and your niche, but bottom line, 3 minutes or less is what needs to be the standard now.
And you're talking this is for regular format, not shorts.
Regular format, yep. Yeah, so it's just quicker, more quicker ads is the trend. Obviously, YouTube ad shorts can be very easy to understand on why. And where I think it's going, I can talk more about where, with YouTube ads, where it's going. I think that it's only going to get harder for the average person to probably do it themselves, especially on top of running a business. And I say that because we talk to our Google Ads agency reps every single week, and they're the highest level rep you can get in terms of Google support. Like, they only work with clients who are spending a significant amount of money, and specifically agencies in our case. And so the type of technical stuff that's coming out that you can do with ads is going to be very hard for the average person to do on their own, which is why, like, it's funny, people always say agencies are dead, but it's like agencies are going to become more and more useful in the future because we have access to these kind of resources and we know these type of updates that are coming in advance. But as much as Google is working on making it easier for the everyday user, there's certain things that you have to learn from the media buying and technical side of things that can improve your performance dramatically, such as enhanced conversions, such as having a third-party tracking software, such as having access to these Google reps that you might not have on your own, that can only help improve the performance of your business faster than you were to do it on your own. And I ultimately think the biggest trend is going to be omnipresence across every channel. I think having one main platform like YouTube ads is great, but like in our VSL says on our website, adspend.com, are all your eggs in the Facebook basket, right? If so, you probably should diversify. Otherwise, it'll end up being like 2008 when everyone had all their money in real estate. It's the same thing with YouTube ads. We always want to, that's why we lead with YouTube ads, but we also run Facebook ads for our clients on the back end once they see the results with YouTube. They also have us run their TikTok ads. And that's important because having all your eggs in one basket in any case, in my opinion, isn't just the smartest, especially with advertising, and especially heading into Q4 right now with Facebook, where sometimes, they're a little bit trigger happy when it comes to banning people. So you should have multiple ad platforms. And ultimately, that's how you build a self-sustainable brand that's not reliant on one ad platform.
So you mentioned you guys are running TikTok ads for clients as well. Anything interesting you can share there, and any trends you're seeing on TikTok and how it's changed the ad landscape in general for people that are looking into paid?
It's funny, broad targeting doesn't work on TikTok ads, just like broad targeting works really well on Facebook ads. Facebook ads, broad targeting, you can get away with a lot. Like just open targeting, and the algorithm is so good because it has so many data points that Facebook ads will usually find the person who you want based off your copy. We literally have ads running right now that are just no targeting. It's just US only as a targeting. And they're better cost per leads than the ones where we get more specific, because Facebook's just been so prone to having all this data. Whereas TikTok ads, we found at least, unless you're having a very mass scalable product, which most of our clients, they're teaching a very specific offer. You have to be a little bit more specific with your targeting. So for example, one of our clients, Roland Frazier, he has the Epic Challenge where he teaches people how to buy businesses with zero money down. So we have broad targeting, which allows us to, we have specific targeting that goes after investors, real estate investors, busy professionals, things like that. So you have to be a little bit more specific on TikTok from what we're seeing, but it's all about the creative on there, just like it is on YouTube. Going back to the original point though, like with TikTok, it can be great, but I think having Facebook and YouTube as well in the mix is going to ultimately be better than just TikTok. And
for TikTok, are you seeing like more like simpler creative, kind of like more similar to the type of content that's on the platform work, or does that not matter at the moment?
What we've been doing, to be truthfully transparent, is we just cut our YouTube ads into 60-minute or 60-second TikTok ads. Like because they're already proven to work, right? We've converted them on YouTube, and we've just been cutting them into 60 seconds on TikTok. But we have started writing specific scripts for YouTube or for TikTok.
That would be interesting. Appreciate your time, man. Thanks for sharing all the knowledge. I know this is going to be super valuable to a lot of people. Where can people find you besides adspend.com? I think you're building your Twitter and your YouTube, right?
On YouTube, just type in my name, Brian Moncada, Brian Moncada. My channel will pop up first. Instagram, you can find me at Brian Moncada, so it's my first and last name. And then Twitter, you can find me as well by just typing in my name at the Brian Moncada. I'm working on getting that a handle, my full name as well. So yeah, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. I would definitely say go to my YouTube first. On YouTube, I drop a video a week on really awesome value when it comes to business, entrepreneurship, how to build an agency, as well as YouTube ads specifically. So yeah, YouTube would be the best one.
All right, man. Thanks.
Dude, thanks for having me.